bacteria play a really important role in the environment. One key function of bacteria in our environment is as a decomposer. So we can see here bacteria biofilms forming on some sort of surface. So you can see here on the picture on the left, there are a bacteria biofilm forming on some sort of surface. So this is going to happen as living things die in the ecosystem. And this is extremely important in something called chemical recycling. So living bodies are full of important nutrients like nitrogen and carbon and phosphorus. And the only way for those things to get back into the soil so that they can get taken up again by plants, which then get eaten by animals, is for something called a decomposer to do this. So this can happen with fungus, can be decomposers, but bacteria are one of our most important decomposers. This is the circle of life, Simba. Another nutrient cycling prospect is nitrogen fixation. So I've mentioned this before, and nitrogen fixing is extremely important. This is how nitrogen goes from something that's a gas, which nobody can access except for nitrogen fixing bacteria. And these little nodules here on this legume plant are full of nitrogen fixing bacteria that are going to help this plant get nitrogen. Bacteria also form lots of symbioses with different organisms, and these can be beneficial, they can be detrimental. So sym means together, bio means life. So symbiosis is going to happen when two organisms of different species live together in a coordinated relationship. Typically, when we have kind of a larger species and a smaller species, so in this case we would have like a bigger plant or animal, and then the smaller one would be the bacteria. So the larger one would be considered the host, and then the smaller one is the symbiont, or the one that's like living on it. A mutualism, so mutualism is mutual, it's mutual good. So this is where one organism is going to be benefited, and the other one is also benefited as well. So they're mutually benefited. This bioluminescent fish here, so it's got this really big eye patch full of bioluminescent bacteria. And so this is a mutualism. What happens is this creates this light for this fish. The fish can use the light to help attract prey or to attract mates. And then the bacteria receive nutrients from the fish, so they've got a really nice cushy environment to live in. Another example of a mutualism is the bacteria that live in this plant. So these bacteria fix nitrogen for the plant, and then the plant is going to provide the bacteria with nutrients like glucose, which it makes through photosynthesis. A commensalism is when one organism benefits and the other organism, the host organism, usually isn't harmed in any significant way. So an example of this would be the bacteria that live like on the outside of your skin. Those bacteria benefit because they get nutrients from your sweat and secretions, but they don't harm you in any way. And then parasitism is a detrimental interaction where the symbiont is a parasite. And a parasite is going to harm the host. But a parasite is typically not going to kill the host. It's not really beneficial for the parasite to kill the host because then it loses its host. So a good parasite is going to live in the host. It's probably going to cause some harm, but as the little harm it causes to the host, the better off it is because then it's going to have a longer host life. So examples of bacterial parasites, we can have pathogenic parasites like pathogenic E. coli. Not all E. coli is pathogenic. Some E. coli can pick up pathogenic genes and then become a problem. You have E. coli in your gut right now that's not pathogenic, and that's a mutualistic relationship. Things like bacterium that cause disease. So Mycobacterium here causes tuberculosis, and that would be the bacterium in the lung that causes the lungs to eventually bleed. That's the person who's coughing up blood. This can be fatal, but it can be managed with antibiotics as well.